What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to Chicago Bulls Central, your one-stop spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. And on today's episode, we got to talk about the Bulls getting back in the win column as Alex Caruso sparks a big victory for the Chicago Bulls. We'll also be breaking down Ayo as a starter, talking about Alfonso McKinney and if it's time to boot him out of there. Zach and Lonzo will be missing more games, all of that and more right after this. All right, Bulls fans. So Alex Caruso came back last night, and you can immediately feel his impact on the game. Again, I wouldn't lay this win fully on just him coming back because it was more than that, and we'll break that down. But what the spark plug that Alex Caruso is, and just everything as far as getting the crowd involved, getting the players involved, keeping everyone. Alex Caruso had a positive plus minus of plus 18 while only shooting 2 for 8 from the field, right? And keep in mind, and that's why I like to use the plus minus, is because it's an indication on the impact you have on the game more than just scoring or anything like that. It's really the totality of everything. And Alex Caruso for the season has a positive plus minus of 138. So, and him having the highest plus minus on this team last night, despite not shooting the ball quite as well and everything else like that, and hot nights from other players as well, just shows you what Alex Caruso means. I think I said Ayo earlier. What Alex Caruso means to this team, right? What having AC fresh, what having the Caruso back means just to this roster. He means so much to this team, Alex Caruso does. And it was great. The block, the defense, everything like that. Just what Alex brings is so important to this roster, especially when you look at, we don't have a lot of players on this roster with a whole lot of experience, especially not playoff experience. So that is going to pay dividends going further into the season. And I wanted to start this off talking about Alex Caruso, what his return meant to this team, and how good it was as a fan just to see him back in the building. And it's good to have him back, gearing up for a 3-game road stretch where we're going to be missing Zach and Lonzo, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But it's good to have him back. It's good to see him in this game, playing defense on Laurie at some points. Alex Caruso just means so much to this team. Now, I want to talk about it as well from this game is Ayo and Kobe. Ayo and Kobe combining for 34 points, 11 assists, 7 rebounds, 6 steals, 4 of those steals being from Kobe alone, and only 2 turnovers between the two of them. That is great. Great. And we'll talk about when you get the contribution from DeMar and Vooch, in which we did in this game as well. When you have your starting backcourt play that well, again, paying those dividends and just showing how dangerous this team is going to be, this bench is going to be once you get everyone back healthy. And I'm going to talk about Ayo's stats as a starter later on in the show. That's actually what we're going to end the show on. But these two players have both been on a great stretch. Just overall, Kobe's defense has just improved so much. And, yes, Kobe is never going to be a lockdown defender, nothing like that. But it's time that we start acknowledging the fact that Kobe is a solid defender. And when you add in his scoring ability on top of that, it just makes everything flow so much easier. And it's great to see them building that chemistry together. And they're going to be playing together for a while if everything goes the way that some of us think that it'll go with Kobe being here long-term and Ayo being here long-term. So it's great to see the chemistry between those two. It's great to see Ayo having the run that he's on. It's also great to see Kobe in many ways having a redemption season after a lot of Bulls fans started the season off thinking that he was going to be the odd man out. All the questions about where's he going to fit, how he's going to get minutes. Oh, and not even talking about the trade conversations that people have had built around Kobe White. Kobe is showing that he's going to be an important part of this team. And don't lessen the impact of bench scoring, right? Bench scoring is highly important, especially in playoff runs and as a team as a whole. And Kobe White being able to bring that, Ayo bringing the defense and offense as well. Oh man, it's just great to have players like this on this team after so long and seeing so many draft picks kind of come and go with the former regime. It's good to see that these players are stepping up in a big way when the team needs it. DeMar and Vooch combined for 54 points in this game. That was great to see. I had said in the pregame show is that, I think I said 45 points between the two of them would be a good night. But them combining for 54 points, when you have the backcourt be able to contribute the way that they did in a game like this, and then you have the bench as well. We got over 20 points from the bench. When you have all those things combined, it makes for a very dangerous team. And this team's effort on both offense and defense really got them the win over a Cavs team that they don't usually match up very well against, right? And we've seen it. So with that being said, the Cavs size did not really get to the Bulls as much of this game. When you look at the Bulls having the amount of points in the paint, that they had in this game, 58 points in the paint from the Chicago Bulls overall in this game. That's huge, right? That is huge. Those are easy buckets, and that makes the game easier. The Bulls have a nice stretch evolved ahead of them, and as long as they can play together like they did in this game, as long as they can execute on both sides of the ball, listen, the Bulls are back to being in any game that they can play in. Now, of course, we need Lonzo back. We need Zach back. We need Javonte Green back. We want to get everyone back healthy. Derrick Jones Jr. as well. We just want to get everyone back healthy so everyone can kind of fit into their more natural roles that were set out on this team, because this team, from top to bottom, is going to be a very dangerous team. Vooch, in very much ways, having a bounce back game from the last game that he had, which many Bulls fans were ready to jump on his neck with that. 11 for 21 from Vooch. Not the most efficient number as far as shooting wise, but again, positive plus minus of plus 13, 24 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block, only 2 turnovers from Vooch. This was good Vooch, right? This was a good game from Vooch in which we needed, and we saw him go down in the paint, not really rely on just that 3. He was only 2 for 6 from the 3-pointer, but seeing Vooch go into the paint, play the way that he did, was very key. DeMar DeRozan, we had good DeMar throughout this game, 14 for 24 shooting, 2 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 4 turnovers, unfortunately, positive plus minus of plus 10, and 30 points from DeMar DeRozan. When you get that contribution from those 4 players that I specifically talked about, it's going to be hard with the defensive effort for any team to really blow us out. Like, we're going to be in any game, and that's without Zach and Lonzo being here. And I really wanted to highlight that and how key those performances were to this game. Now, on the bad side of this, and this Alfonzo McKinney experiment needs to be over. I was one of the people who was telling you guys, don't let the game against the Rockets inflate your view of Alfonzo McKinney. In his 12 games with the Bulls so far, he is only shooting 40% field goal overall, 34% from 3, 16% from free throw, averaging 4.7 points per game, and has a PER of 6.69. That is not a good player. That is not a good player. I understand why they replaced him. They replaced Alize Johnson with Alfonzo McKinney. I understand that. Alize was giving us nothing. But this Alfonzo McKinney thing, and at one point people were saying, hey, Alfonso's going to be our bench scorer. It's not going to happen. He has not scored efficiently since he's been here. He's had 2 games, one in which it was a blowout and him and Matt Thomas was just eating on garbage time, and the game against the Rockets in which he scored efficiently. Every game other than that Alfonzo McKinney has played in the Bulls uniform, he has not been efficient. He's not been good. And on defense, he has solid stretches, but a PER of 6.69 is damn near unacceptable. Unacceptable. This Alfonzo McKinney experiment needs to be over. And I'm glad that he did not start in the second half. Coach Donovan he almost started Tyler Cook out there, but he went with scoring more than anything and started Troy Brown Jr. We're probably going to see Tyler Cook get Alfonzo McKinney's minutes, even if Troy Brown Jr. does start in the next game. And I, for one, welcome it. This Alfonzo McKinney experiment needs to be over, period. Now let's get into what's coming up next for the Bulls. So it was announced that Zach and Lonzo Ball are going to be missing this 3-game road trip for the Bulls. That means they're going to be missing against our ESPN game against the Bucks tomorrow, game against the Magic, and against the Thunder. They're going to be missing all 3 of those games as they reevaluate their knees and want them to get back healthy. The Bulls are just going to have to play much like they did last night, much like they did against Boston. Solid execution on both sides of the ball. But the key thing is that those 2 players we need them healthy for the stretch, right? We need them healthy for the end of the season. If they have to sit out, even if it means the Bulls losing some games that they definitely could have won or been in with those players being in there, you got to let them get their rest. From the Zach thing, I really get the impression that Zach could play if it was the playoff time now, that he could go, maybe a little bit uncomfortable and things like that. The Zoe thing, that bone bruise, depending on how extensive that is, it can be pretty serious, and it can be a lengthy injury to recover from. But we're going to keep both of them lifted up in spirit. Let's hope that it's more positive than negative. And after this 3-game road trip, we get positive news that they're going to be coming back to the team sooner rather than later, because we definitely need them, especially going into the All-Star break. You want to try to get them some reps, hopefully, so that way after the All-Star break, we're all firing on all cylinders and we're ready to go back on a big stretch like we've gone before. Last topic for today, I want to talk about Io. And Io's stats as a starter so far this season. This is just the games that he's starting. 14 points per game, 4.6 rebound per game, 7 assists per game, 1.4 steals per game, a field goal percentage of 76, 3-point percentage of 66.73%, so almost 67% from 3-point range from Ayo Dosunmu in his stretch as a starter, and 1.8, almost 2 turnovers per game. Listen, that as a rookie starter, again, those stats don't jump out at you if we were talking about like a 3, 4, 5-year veteran, but as a rookie starter, a second-round pick who wasn't projected to be a starter at all. I said early on, and shout out, somebody called me out on it in the post-game live show last night, is that I said it early in the season, if Ayo is getting heavy minutes on this roster, something's gone either terribly wrong or amazingly right. And it's luckily it's on the latter half of that. It's amazing. He's just been amazing in his minutes, and you really see that Ayo is going to project to be a really solid player on this team for years and years and years to come. And this is why I've been saying we need to trust this front office. When you can pick players like that, I know people, naysayers, are going to say, well, he was projected to be at the end of the first round. And listen, it doesn't matter. They got a player like him in the second round. You got to trust what this front office is able to build. Ayo's, like, as of right now, Ayo, like I said, I've said this many times before, his potential is as high as anyone else in the first round and just about anyone else even drafted in the lottery. Ayo, 22 years old, just turned 22 years old, to be putting up these type of numbers as a rookie starter and then just being solid on defense and being able to contribute. Ayo, another Swiss Army knife in the making. And, you know, him coming into a team that has better players, right? Has the veterans in DeMar and Alex Caruso. We already know DeMar's taking him under his wing. The sky is really the limit for Ayo Dosunmu as of right now. Let me know down below, what do you think about this game? What do you think about Alfonso McKinney experiment? Should it be over? How do you think the Bulls are going to do in the stretch of Zoe and Lonzo being out in this 3-game road trip? And lastly, Ayo Dosunmu's potential. Where do you see it right now? Is Ayo, and again, way too early, right? But where do you see Ayo Dosunmu's overall potential on this Bulls team? Somebody said last night that the Bulls may eventually have to make a decision if they want to move Ayo to be the starter or move Lonzo and have Ayo come in and be the starting point guard. I'm not ready to say that yet, right? Because I want to keep them together if possible. But I can't knock anyone who has that thought process. I really can't, because as great as Lonzo is defensively, right? What Ayo brings offensively in the versatility, right? Lonzo's really just been a 3-point shooter. Now, something could be said to that's how the coaches are using him and they need to use him in a different way. But again, I want to be clear. I am not in any way saying that we should ship Lonzo to make Ayo the starter. I'm not saying that at all. I want to see Lonzo stay on this team for a long time, but I understand the sentiment and those ideas coming from some Bulls fans. But let me know what you think about everything down below. Make sure you're following the podcast at Bulls Central Pod. You can also send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave us a text or voicemail, you can do so at 773-270-2799. On tomorrow's show, I'll go into the mailbag heavily. So if you want to get in anything, try to get it in within the next 24 hours. But that's it for me for today. Like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.